everyone, and welcome to another edition of Webinars for Power. I'm Sharoni Kotaria, and I'm going to be interviewing Wali Rahman, who is the co-chair of the BME network at Wiltshire Council. Now, I've known Wali for a little while, and I've admired from afar some of the fantastic work that he's been doing, and so I was absolutely thrilled when he agreed to join us today on this webinar. So without further ado, Wali Rahman, welcome to Webinars for Power.
Hi Sharon, thank you very much for that. It's a real privilege and an honour to be on the webinar.
Oh, thank you so much. It looks a bit cloudy where you are. It's certainly cloudy in London. Oh, right, okay. So that summer didn't last very long. So look, let's get right into it. I want to know, I introduced you as the co-chair of a staff network, but obviously you have another role that you do in Wiltshire Council. Tell us what that is and a little bit about who you are and what makes you tick.
Okay, yeah, so I'm an organisational development officer at Wiltshire Council, so working in HR and OD, so basically our learning and development function at the council. And so my team, we deliver training internally to staff and also externally in the community. And our external training also brings in some funding for the council. So income generation avenue as well.
And how long have you been there? Have you always been in OD at Wiltshire, or have you done other things?
Yes, so I've been in my current post for the last 3 years. Time flies, so it's hard to always keep a track. But altogether, I've been at Wiltshire Council for about 8 years. In previous roles, I've worked in employment and skills in the economic development team, and also I was actually Wiltshire's first community cohesion officer, which was working on Prevent back in 2009 when Prevent was launched. Yeah. I have spent a lot of time working, even before my role with Prevent and afterwards, on community cohesion and community development initiatives, sort of as a volunteer. It's always something that's been a part of me. So I think probably ever since 9/11, I was involved in a lot of outreach work, countering extremism initiatives, also delivering training on faith and cultural awareness for schools, for church groups, for businesses, and also for police, and also doing a lot of school visits and assemblies locally. So as well as some youth work. So that's kind of been a real passion of mine, which is community work and outreach, and of course equality and diversity. So that's been a theme running throughout my career, whether it's been as an add-on to my job or as part of my job. So which I'm actually quite fortunate at the moment, because I've actually got such a supportive management team, and I've been able to mold some of my work to include my passion for equality and diversity.
Oh, wow.
So now I deliver training on equality and diversity and unconscious bias, which I know we're going to come to in a short while.
I mean, it sounds like, we've got similar interests actually, because, when I worked in government, I did a stint on Prevent as well, in from the Whitehall perspective. And I've also done some work with young people. I worked with young people for a number of years in Haringey, in Tottenham. You can work with young people in Tottenham, then, that's no easy feat. But they were lovely, fantastic set of children. And I'm always about that community thing. I still get involved in community, and it's so important. But let's get back to you and your role in Wiltshire, which sounds quite varied. So despite all of that, you still took on the role of becoming a co-chair of a network, and a network serving Black and Asian minority ethnic staff. So having been in that position, I understand some of the challenges and some of the victories that we can experience. But from your perspective, what sticks out for you in terms of the journey thus far? What's been the highs and the lows?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, running the network has been hugely rewarding, as you know, but also challenging and tiring at times to the point of you know reaching burnout, at times. But I think the highs definitely outweigh the lows. Um, in terms of the highs, you know, we've taken what used to be called the staff forum. So my co-chair Theo Biney and I, we took on the challenge of reinventing this staff forum into a staff network. So previously we only had about 2 or 3 people attending meetings every couple of months, and nothing really was being achieved.
Oh
So
goodness.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
we decided to organise um, events and invite all staff, not just BME staff, and use these opportunities as learning opportunities for the rest of the organization.
Yeah.
So we thought, one of our main targets would be allies, because in Wiltshire, in the council, we only have, out of 5,000 staff, we've got about 3% of those 5,000 who are BME. So that in itself is a huge challenge because we
Mm.
don't have a big pool
Yeah.
to work from. So so we thought, okay, let's start with our allies and senior leaders. So we put on in the last 3 years about 9 successful events with various wonderful speakers, um, such as Rob Neal. He was actually a great speaker to have, and really helped us to launch ourselves within the organization and gain some popularity and momentum.
Are these your epic talks?
No, so these are
Oh.
different to Epic Talks. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that's a whole nother
That's a whole
subject.
other
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
So
I'll be patient. I'll wait.
yeah, so yeah, Epic Talks are public meetings, not necessarily to do with equality and diversity.
Okay.
It's just general learning for the community. So, for example, our next one actually trying to organise is one on the current pandemic. So, using industry experts to shed light on various topical issues.
So is that
So,
is that a council initiative or a network initiative?
no, that's a council
All
initiative.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay.
So,
Sorry. Carry on.
yeah, but I mean, it's all related because I've always held a view that because Epic Talks, they came out of our staff employee engagement group called EPIC, which
Mm.
is which stands for Empowering People, Innovation and Collaboration. So my view has always been that the networks should be part of that employee engagement experience. So it's all related.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going back to what I was saying about the network. So when one of the things we did, as I mentioned, was to focus on our allies and also our external partner organisations. So we formed
Okay.
close ties with the Wiltshire Police, BME staff, and the allies there as well. So we kind of formed this cross-organisational network. So we
Okay.
work very closely with our counterparts at Wiltshire Police. They have their own network, of course, and the Black
But you
Police
come together.
Association. Yeah, we come
Yeah.
together
Okay.
and share ideas.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
the fact that I mean, I'm encouraging networks in their own organisation to come together, but I also encourage networks to reach out to, you know, networks serving similar groups nearby and just share
yeah,
resources and work together. So yeah, I love that you're doing that.
yeah, and also with the NHS as well,
Mm.
and the Fire Authority, Dorset and Wiltshire Fire Authority. So we get people coming along to our events
Oh
from
wow.
there, and South Gloucestershire Police as well. So we're just really trying to be as inclusive as possible
Mm.
and widen our networks. So yeah, so going back to the highs. So I mean, all of this led to a lot of good feedback from staff and managers who said
Mm.
the network events really help them to gain a better understanding of issues around inclusion and
Yeah.
diversity. And also, this led to us being recognised nationally as well. So we're featured in the Diversity Digest magazine
Yes, you
in
were.
2018. Yeah,
I
so
remember. Yeah, that was
yeah,
fantastic. Really good piece. It was.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we're doing another edition actually. So
Oh, okay,
yeah, but
brilliant.
no, that I remember that. That was a very good piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also that same year we were finalists at the ENEI Awards, so the Employers
Oh
Network
yes,
for Equality
yes,
and Inclusion.
yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I mean, despite all of that, we've always felt up until recently that our main target audience, which of course our BME colleagues,
Mm,
were really not engaging. So we were having all these other successes, but we found that we were not really being appreciated by the BME staff themselves, and a lot of the
yeah.
BME staff. I don't know whether it was true or not, but we felt that maybe they felt a bit embarrassed, maybe, or shy to come forward and attend the network, and don't want to be seen as rocking the boat or
Yeah. Yeah.
troublemakers.
There's a bit of a
Excuse me. Yeah.
how where it came from. I don't know, but there's some stigma attached to networks,
Yeah.
especially networks serving Black, Asian, and minority ethnic staff. It's almost seen like a group of troublemakers, or if you join it, it's going to impede your career somehow. I
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
But
I
however,
can
I mean,
understand that challenge.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that actually, I mean, so far seems to be changing. So due to the COVID-19 outbreak and the lockdown,
Yeah.
it forced us all basically to work from home. We held our first online meeting um, as part of the May 13th National Day for Staff Networks,
Oh, excellent. Well
which you set
done.
up. So
Yeah.
and for that we targeted our BME staff and colleagues,
Hmm.
and the take up was actually really encouraging. So
Oh, good.
and not only that, we had um, our two chief executives at the time. They also came along, as did our HR director and other senior colleagues.
Wonderful. That's
So that
really
was,
encouraging.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was really encouraging, successful. And then we also set up a WhatsApp group, which started to grow, and it's growing. I would say on a weekly basis. So it's a safe space for our BME colleagues to come together and support each other and
Mm.
share information and advice and so on. And especially since the Black Lives Matter movement and
Mm.
the death of George Floyd
Mm.
and all of the events that followed. So that has been real testing time for us in terms of our input to the organization, because we've been asked for lots of statements from senior colleagues and other members of staff. We've contributed to newsletters for schools, and also supported our BME staff who have come to us
Yeah.
for advice. Some people felt a bit upset, a bit
Of course.
lost,
Yeah.
so that really showed us that there is a need for us
Mm.
um, to be to have this network and have this support group.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that's been really encouraging.
while nobody wanted COVID-19, nobody did. I have seen, networks. That, something that I've always known is that networks are just really great at supporting each other in tough times. But this year in particular, I've just seen networks really up their game, do things like you've just said, be quite innovative and bold about how they're going to reach their members, really being that conduit of information and providing that support. Um, but the other side of the coin is while you have been waiting to have race on the agenda for such a long time, it's all come in and it's like it's like a tsunami of information
Yeah,
that people are looking for you, and that can be quite draining. It can be quite traumatic and challenging. All of a sudden everybody's looking at to the BME network to provide these answers, and you're like, well, we just want to improve outcomes for people
yeah,
who look like us. We're not here to solve, we're not experts in organizational design, even though you are, but networks, that's not their role. So I can totally understand the challenges, some of the challenges that you may have encountered in dealing with all of this. But no, well done
yeah.
for
Thank
the
you.
whole online stuff and creating a WhatsApp group. Sounds fantastic. And is it still going on?
It is, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
so we're actually, I mean, we were planning our next event for Black History Month, but I think we'll probably, due to the success of the online event, we'll probably try and hold another online meeting in the next month or so.
Good.
So yeah,
No, we just spoke about various people getting involved and how important it is to work more collaboratively. In your journey as a co-chair, what's your relationship like, or what would you advise people to strive for in terms of building a relationship with their diversity and inclusion lead, or if it comes under HR, whichever the one is, there's people that can support you
yeah,
corporately. What's your
okay.
advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we're fortunate enough to have both. So we have a DNI lead in our corporate office and also within HR.
Mm,
So I think from our experience, networks really need to get buy-in from those leads and regularly communicate with them, always keeping things transparent, keeping them
yeah,
updated
yeah.
on what they're doing, and having honest conversations about what's working and what's not working, and also making sure that your voice is heard when it comes to whenever we're being asked to have an input into policies or strategies, making
Mm,
sure that you have the time to do that and not brush it aside. Because then, when the time comes and you need it, then, the opportunity might not be there. So
mm.
always, grab those opportunities to have your voice heard. Um, so I would say within Wiltshire Council, certainly for our network, we have a great relationship with our DNI and our HR teams and
Excellent.
functions.
That's
And
really good.
yeah, so we're always sharing news and information, details of events and webinars, sharing notes, learning, also trying to work together with other networks and being allies to each other. So we've got
Mm.
an LGBTQ plus network, and also we've got a disability and carers network. So we're always trying to see, how we can support each other. So the other thing I would say is also try to highlight your achievements and successes, and just like the theme for your staff networks day, demonstrate how you're adding value
Oh.
to the organization and the employees.
Wally, you were singing my song this afternoon. You're just saying all the things that I always say to networks, because what they need to understand that these things are important. You're putting a lot of time and effort into, supporting colleagues, and it's so important to shout about your achievements and demonstrate how you are adding value. And I cannot emphasize that, more. So thank you for raising that. Now,
Thank you.
I want to know more about this fantastic video that you sent me, because somebody sent it to me. And I thought, I know that name. I thought, I know that voice. And then I realized that the name and the voice was one and the same. And I said, I didn't know he could do this. Tell us about this video and how it came about.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the things I've been advising the organization for past couple of years was to introduce training on unconscious bias, which I've been an advocate for ever since I came across it. I mean, I think it goes back to a few years now when when we first started
Mm,
hearing about unconscious bias. So I've been getting more and more knowledge on the subject and trying to educate myself through books and conferences and webinars and all of that. But I think we struggle a bit within the organization because I don't think, I mean, I think only now people are still waking up to, the importance of it. But also, as you can imagine, with the public sector and especially local government, budgets are tight. So
yeah, yeah.
it's not always easy to get training commissioned in. but so I took it upon myself to gain a qualification in it. So um, I attended an ILM accredited course run by ENEI. So again, ENEI, huge shout out to them. They've been a huge inspiration for me and kind of huge support for me. You
Oh,
know,
that's lovely.
um,
Mm.
so yeah, I can't sing their praises enough. So I attended this course and um, developed my own course based upon on that, and gained an ILM accreditation for it. So it actually led me to gaining ILM associate member status. So my manager, my management team were quite proud of that. So they actually asked me to deliver the course internally and also see if we can deliver it externally as well.
Mhm.
So that basically led me to deliver the course to over 100 Wiltshire Council staff in the past year,
Wow.
um, and over 30 senior Wiltshire police officers and staff, which included the chief constable himself and the deputy chief constable. So after those sessions with the police, I was actually approached by the L&D lead at the police and asked if I would, work with them on this video they wanted to make as part of their training
Oh,
suite for police officers.
wow.
So yeah, so they have these bite-sized videos
Mm.
that help to train police officers and staff. So yeah, so I put together a script and I voiced the video and worked with a wonderful guy called Rob Wilcox, who's the animator for the video you'll see. So he put together this video and the animation for it.
Mm.
And yeah, we've had some good feedback from that. So hopefully, it's used for the police, of course, but also it's on YouTube, so people can see it from wherever.
I mean, I've seen the video and I thought, wow, this is really good. I was just like, why haven't we done this before? It's always the thing when someone else does something, you think, why didn't we do this before? So if you're watching this webinar, at the end, you will either see the video itself, or there certainly will be a link to it. So watch this space. You will get a chance to witness this thing that this wonderful video that Wali's been involved in. So as we think about messages, because I'm always keen, Wali, to hear you know learning from people like yourself who've been at the front line, supporting staff, especially during the times like COVID-19. What's your advice? Would you say, if you had to think about, you could choose a piece of advice for members of a network, you could choose a piece of advice for the sponsors or for the allies, or indeed those in the organisation that make decisions. Firstly, which one do you want to speak to out of those
Oh,
four
I,
groups?
actually had a message for all of them, but
Oh,
if I got time,
oh, go for it. Yeah, all of them.
yes, yeah. I mean, my message to members and allies would be to get involved in the networks.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to teach each other. We learn from each other, and by asking questions,
sure.
also widen and diversify your own circles, whether that be at work or outside work. In your social life,
Mm,
um, and take every opportunity you get to engage with others from different backgrounds to yours. That's the only way we can become more empathetic and supportive of each other.
mm,
And
that's good.
to would-be sponsors, senior colleagues, and decision makers, I would say that please, acknowledge the power and influence that you have, um, along with the fact that barriers and bias do exist,
Yeah.
um, and don't be too shy to learn, from people more junior to you, learn from their experiences and understand what they go through, and understand, the barriers that prevent them from reaching their full potential.
Hmm.
Um, and if you can, be that friend, that ally who would remove some of those barriers and level the playing field for, those staff who are marginalized. So yeah, that's that's my message. Yeah,
Okay. Wow. Three, really good messages there. Good
thank
pieces
you.
of advice. Thank you so much for sharing those nuggets of wisdom, and I do hope those of you who are watching, will share that back to either your members or to the allies or to the sponsors, because having witnessed what has been going on at Wiltshire, I know that Wali is speaking from the heart, and he's also speaking from experience. So final question from me. Can you believe that half an hour's gone already?
No.
No. Final question from me is, I always like to ask people this question. What's the quote that keeps you going? Now, it could change from time to time, but there's always one. I noticed that there's always one or two that people really do go back to. What is that for you?
Okay, well, this isn't scripted at all, so
okay.
So I wanted to share. This is the quote that I love so much that I've actually got it printed on a mug.
Okay,
so
you're gonna have to read it out just in case. Yeah.
So it's a quote from my one of my role models and favorite sports people, which is Michael Jordan. So I'm sure you're all familiar with Michael Jordan and what he's achieved. So this is the quote, which says, "Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it." So yeah, that's my all-time favorite quote, because I live by that, because one of the things is, as people will know, working with whether it's community groups or networks, you might not always have the resources that you need, and there are always going to be obstacles, but that should never stop you. If you've got the passion and the drive, you'll always find a way to get things done. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned. There's always a way, to achieve your results if you're dedicated enough. So don't give up. Just find that way. Climb that wall.
Climb that wall.
Yeah.
What a wonderful quote. What a wonderful way to end this fantastic webinar. Wali, I just want to thank you for really giving up your time, for talking to me and sharing some of the things that you've gone through and what drives you and motivates you, and for sharing those tips. I'm sure people watching this will be, will find it invaluable, and just continue to do the fantastic work you're doing in Wiltshire. And I'm sure that many are beginning to understand that the power of the staff network, and that means that people who dedicate their time like yourself, that's why we celebrate networks. That's why we celebrate people like yourself. I know it's only once a year, but at least we have that day set aside just for you. And so I want to thank you for doing what you do and for joining me today. Any final words from you?
And thank you so much for having me. As I said, it's a real pleasure. And I would just like to say how inspired I am by you and your work as well. Aww. So keep up that positive vibe, and I'm sure we'll share nuggets and ideas with each other moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it from me today from the webinar for Power. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. And on behalf of Wali Rahman and myself, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.
Unconscious bias refers to our unintended people preferences formed by our socialization, environment, and personal experiences, including exposure to certain stereotypes in society and in the media. We are hardwired to prefer people who look like us, sound like us, and share our interests. Our brains use two thinking systems, fast and slow thinking, which operate simultaneously. This leads to us categorizing people, such as assigning certain characteristics, behaviors, and abilities to certain groups of people, and feeling more comfortable with certain groups of people over others. There are over 188 types of bias, and in the workplace, these can affect who we listen to and whose opinions we value, who we recruit, how we attribute behavior, how we allocate work and provide feedback, and how we provide informal support, such as coaching, mentoring, and sponsorship. So although biases are a part of who we are, we must not let them affect our decision-making, as this can have legal and financial implications for ourselves and our organisations. For example, unconscious bias in recruitment may mean that the best candidate for a job may not be hired, and the Equality Act 2010 makes it unlawful for an employer to discriminate on the grounds of a protected characteristic such as race, religion, gender, sexuality, disability, and so on. Managing and controlling our biases is the responsibility of each and every individual, and is not just a benefit to others, but it can lead to better and fairer decision making and enhanced problem solving, increased productivity and profitability. To learn more about unconscious bias and book onto an ILM approved course, contact Wiltshire Training at learning@wiltshire.gov.uk.